Are you ready to make a quantum leap in your leadership in 2025? Are you looking for the year 2025 to bring clarity and confidence and connection to how you lead? Listen, there are 5 mistakes that you could be making that would derail your leadership success in 2025. And watching this whole video could help you avoid a leadership catastrophe in 2025. Listen, watch this video until the end to get a full picture of all 5 of the leadership mistakes, and chances are you're making at least one of them. For me personally, I made all 5 of these mistakes on my leadership journey, and I wish I had the information today that I had when I started my leadership journey. If I could have had a mentor to really walk me through the process of what it looked like to lead, it would have changed the trajectory of my career. And so I want to share the information that I have gained in over 20 years of leading people. Now, as a leader, you know that the leadership game is not an easy game. And the more strategies and tactics you have as an effective leader, the better you are able to navigate the leadership landscape. And so I want to help you make 2025 your best year yet as a leader, and even just in your overall life. Because when you show up better as a leader, you're going to show up better in your personal relationships. You're going to show up better when it comes to you relating with you. And so I really want to help you have a quantum leap in your leadership. And I'll share my personal experience and the quantum leap I had when it came to leading. And the quantum leap I had didn't come easy. And that's why I said, I wish I had someone who could have shared with me the things that I am sharing with you today. And so let's get into what it looks like to experience your best year by avoiding these 5 mistakes. Now, when I talk about mistakes, I'm talking about things that could be detrimental, that on the surface, it may not look like very much, but because you deal with people as a leader, it can be earth shattering. And what I mean by that is people are temperamental. A lot of times we say that we're not driven by emotion and we're not making decisions based on emotion. But the truth of the matter is that if you are human and you don't have any health issues in connection to your brain, you first make decisions based on emotions and then you justify it logically. I'm going to say this again because I wish I knew this when I started my leadership journey. I had no idea that when I stepped into the landscape of leading, that I would have to understand the emotional decision-making patterns of people in order to understand that people are only going to do what they feel like doing. Right? You can make requests out there to your team, but if you don't position it in a way that moves them, makes them feel like doing a thing, you are going to come up against struggle after struggle after struggle. I have personally experienced those struggles because I did not understand that people are always going to make decisions emotionally and justify them logically. There was a study done where a man had a traumatic brain injury, and that brain injury affected the emotional region of his brain. And you would think, okay, the emotional region of his brain is impacted, so that just means he's not going to be able to display openly emotions. But it impacted the way and the rate at which he made decisions. It actually slowed him down from making decisions. He was hindered from making decisions. He became indecisive because emotionally he was not well. And it stemmed from that brain injury. I want you to step back and think about yourself emotionally. When you are frustrated as a leader in your position, when you are experiencing emotional um, influx, or things are happening all around you, where are you grabbing your decisions from? And I'll give you an example. I remember being really frustrated at an experience I had at a store, because my background is in the retail industry. And so I would go into the retail store, and it had to present a particular way, right? I had standards. And I remember being a little frustrated because I had had a conversation with one of the leaders in the store, but on coming to visit the store, things did not look better. And so I was frustrated. I was upset with the standard that I was seeing, because what I was seeing was not meeting the standard that was communicated. And it was frustrating to me because I was experiencing a weight or pressure from my boss to produce a particular result. And because of the emotional pressure I was experiencing, it was impacting the decision I was making and how I was handling the leader I was leading. Right? So this emotional pressure, the thoughts that I was having, the feelings I was feeling, because emotions are going to show up in the physical aspects of how you show up. And what I mean by that is emotions are going to physically affect you. Their effects show up in the way that you think. The effects are going to show up in how you are postured in your body, the expressions you have on your face. They are going to be noticeable in some aspect, whether it is externally or internally to you. Whether you, as the person having the emotion, is able to tell a difference in yourself, or an outsider looking in is able to visibly view you and see that there has been a change, right? And you may be thinking, Shiteria, I am really good at managing my emotions and not showing my emotions. And I want to say, excellent for you. But I had a struggle with that. And in struggling with that, it impacted my leadership, and it impacted the results that I was having. And I really want you to take time to think about whether or not you're actually handling your emotions well, or if you think you're handling them well and other people are seeing it as something completely different. So I started telling you that story because when you are making emotional decisions that you're justifying with logic, you're going to go out there and you're going to say some things that you feel like are the best for the situation, without realizing that you're not talking to you, but you are talking to someone else. You're talking to an individual who has different motives than you have. They have different thought patterns than you have, and they are going to have different responses than you have. And so it's so important as a leader to understand that you are dealing with people, and being in the people business, being in the business where you are dealing with people, you are going to have these you're going to have a particular skill set under your belt. You're going to have certain strategies. You're going to have certain mindsets that are going to help you along your leadership journey to bring the very best out of the people that you lead. As a leader, it is your responsibility to up level the people that are with you through your teaching, your coaching, and your training. You are creating an environment where they can flourish and grow. And you may be thinking, well, not everybody can flourish and grow because maybe the position is not a fit for them. But a lot of times we decide what's a fit for someone before we have actually done the work to cultivate an environment that will allow them to flourish. And if you are going to grow in your confidence in the year of 2025, you have to make sure that you are up leveling your skill set, that you are cultivating and crafting an intentional environment where people can grow, where people can develop, where they can lean into the very strengths and the core competencies and capabilities that they have in order to push the mission forward, in order to push the goals and initiatives forward that the organization has. And when you step back and you can see each individual person and how they play a part in the larger vision of the organization, whether it's an organization that you are building yourself or whether it is an organization that you are a part of, when you can step back and say, each one of these people are going to fit into a place. And if you as a leader can create this environment where they can grow and flourish, it will help you to go to the next level. Now, there are going to be some instances where certain positions and certain jobs are just not a fit for that person. But as a leader, it's also your responsibility to help them see that. But before you help them see that, you have to ensure that you have done everything that you can to help them produce the result that is required. And why do I say you do everything that you can? Because you are in the business of people. You are in the business of helping people to draw out of them what sometimes is hidden. And your words, your actions, your proximity to a person can help them to uncover some things that they would otherwise not discover without your presence. Because as a leader, your leadership takes them somewhere. Leadership, it is a ship. It is moving. It is going somewhere. It has momentum. And as a leader, you are creating this environment, which I like to consider as a garden. And it is a place for flourishing, a place where things grow, but it is also a place of pruning. And so I don't want you to get confused on this leadership journey. It's not all going to be butterflies and rainbows. There's some pruning that has to happen. And when you are developing a person and you're doing it well, they'll accept the pruning even when it doesn't feel good, because they know at the end, because of how you have positioned it, that this pruning is going to get them to look like the end result that you have discussed, that end result that they desire, the end result that you desire, the end result that's going to produce the outcome that is overarching and will benefit both the individual and the organization. Now, I want to help you to boost your confidence in 2025 when it comes to your leadership. So let's dive into these 5 mistakes, one of which you are probably making. And again, I've made all 5 of them. So I'm not passing any judgment. I'm just telling you that in 2025, if you make some of these changes, or if you make all of these changes, you could see a quantum leap in your leadership. And so this is 5th on the list. This is number 5 on the list. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the list backwards. And number 5 on the list is not valuing the people that you serve as a leader. Don't go into 2025 making this mistake. As a leader, oftentimes leading in larger organizations, I was taught about the replaceability of people. And yes, you can go and fire someone and then hire someone else, right? But generally, the hiring process is not as simple or as easy as you may think. And if we are not valuing people, what happens is, whether or not the person was capable of producing the result we needed, you'll never know, because you did not cultivate an environment that would allow them to produce that thing. There is a such thing as a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you speak down on people, when you think a certain way about people, when you engage with people in a certain way, you will produce the result, even if they were capable of doing so much more. I want you to think of it this way. Think of it as having two children in a room together, one child is being told often that they're not capable of doing something, they're stupid, they're unqualified. All of these negative attributes and words are being spewed at them. And then you have this child who is being told, you can do it. If you have the skill set, you're developing in this area, XYZ, like this other child is being poured into well. And then you place before both of these people a task to be completed. Generally, the child who has been encouraged is going to produce a better result than the child who has been discouraged. I'm going to say that again. Generally, the child who has been encouraged is going to produce a better result than the child who has been discouraged. And as a leader, you have the capacity to encourage or discourage. And in 2025, that is going to be one of your strongest weapons, encouragement. And through seeing the people that you lead, your teammates, as valuable, seeing them as more than just numbers within the organization, seeing them as assets instead of liabilities are going to change the way that you lead them. Because when they ask you a question or when they don't know something, it will change your response. See, oftentimes we're not aware of how we're responding to the people that we're leading because we're not aware of how we are valuing them. Many times after we communicate with those that we are leading, we go off and we have negative conversations about them in our minds or with other leaders at our same level. It is so important as a leader to properly value and to properly esteem each one of the team members that you are leading, because if not, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You are shutting down progress before it can ever happen because you're not giving that person your very best. And in turn, that person's not giving you their very best. No one is going to give you their very best if they feel like you are not interested in them as a person. Again, we're dealing with people who make emotional decisions that they justify with logic. I told you all of that in the beginning about people making emotional decisions that they justify with logic, because throughout this entire process, you are going to be reminded about the emotions that are at play with people when it comes to whether or not they rise or fall to the occasion. You have to create an environment that makes people feel like doing the thing, producing the result, going the distance, doing the thing for you. Because there are so many options. People have so many options available to them in this time that they don't have to be where you are. See, 85% of people leave jobs because of their leader. Because they're not working for Microsoft or Google or whatever organization it is that you work for. They're working for you as the leader that they report to, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be in an environment where they feel like they are not valued and they are not seen for the contributions that they make. And so this year, make sure that you are valuing your people. Make sure that you are examining the way that you think about them, because the way you think about them is going to show up on your face. It's going to show up in your actions towards them. It's going to show up in how you advocate for them. Listen up. If you didn't know, at the end of this month, whenever you're watching this, I'm hosting a leadership challenge, a 5-day leadership challenge, the Inspire, Influence, and Impact Leadership Challenge. And this is not your typical event. This is 5 days of live coaching with me. And here's the kicker. If you get a VIP ticket, I'll personally answer your questions. This is your opportunity to get direct access to the strategies and mindset shifts that can transform your leadership and your life. Don't let 2025 be like every other year. Don't let 2025 be like every other moment where you felt defeated on your leadership journey. Listen, people have experienced transformation being with me for an hour in a virtual room. Imagine what can change in your life if you join this 5-day challenge and we crack your leadership code and take your specific challenges head on. Check out the challenge information, grab your VIP ticket, and I'll see you in the room. Have a great day. You advocate for them because as a leader, you are an advocate. And if you are not able to properly advocate for them, you are not going to see the best from them, because sometimes you need to advocate for them to themselves. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes you're going to have employees who are not confident in their capabilities. But as a leader, because this is your garden, you are able to help to groom them and you're able to help to grow them. And so you're literally speaking life into them. You're literally encouraging them to rise to the level of their capabilities, to rise to the level to produce the result. And you may be thinking, these are grown adults. Why do I need to cause them to rise to a level? Because sometimes somebody needs you to believe in them before they can believe in themselves. And so, depending on where you're working, depending on the person you're working with, you may have to transfer a belief to them in order for them to produce the outcome that you're looking for. And that means that you have to value them properly. You have to value them enough to take the time to even discover what they need from you. Okay? So the fifth mistake that you could be making, even though it's the first one I'm talking about, is not properly valuing your people. The fourth mistake that you could be making that I have on my list is not understanding why your role is significant. You may be thinking, Shaiteria, I know my role is significant because, without my position, there's nobody to oversee what's getting done, right? But I want you to reimagine your position. I want you to think differently about your position this year, right? You have probably heard many people say that leaders cast the vision. But you may not have had many people talk to you about leaders sharing the outcomes that need to be produced, right? Your role is responsible, or excuse me, your role is significant because you are responsible for producing the outcomes that the company is looking for, right? And a lot of times as a leader, because you're not aware that you're responsible for outcomes, you get so mixed up or so caught up on the little things that don't move the needle in the area of your responsibility, and you forget about the big things that will. The little things that are not going to move the needle in your area of responsibility is you being so focused on the end result. Yes, you are responsible for outcomes, but you being focused on the end result instead of the inputs is going to wreck your 2025. You're responsible for outcomes. So in order to get the outcomes you desire, you have to put the right things in. Okay? I know. It seems so simple. There's that phrase, garbage in, garbage out. And so because you are responsible for a particular set of outcomes, there are goals that have been mapped out that you were probably a part of at the end of last year, that you are responsible for producing this year. You are responsible for a set of outcomes, but unless the inputs are good, unless the inputs are appropriate, unless the inputs have been properly vetted, your outcomes are going to be useless, right? Your outcomes, you're not going to reach the goals that you desire, the results, the objectives that you have. You're not going to move the needle on the strategic initiative that you set forth because your inputs were not thought about. Your inputs were not evaluated. And so this year, I want you to see yourself as an outcome producer. That your role is significant because you're producing a particular set of outcomes that when those outcomes are achieved, it is a measurement of your leadership, the value that you bring as a leader. Okay. So that's number 4. Number 4 is not understanding why your role is significant. So this year, you're going to shift that whole perspective, and you're going to understand that you're responsible for outcomes. So you got to have a plan for some inputs this year. Number 3 on my list is not having a leadership plan. We have plans for so many things. We have sales plans, we have marketing plans, we have business plans, we have so many plans, vacation plans. But did you plan your leadership for this year? We have emergency plans, right? We have emergency procedures. We have evacuation plans. But do you have a leadership plan? As a leader, if you do not have a leadership plan, you are dropping the ball. You are setting yourself up for success. Oh, excuse me. I said you're dropping the ball and you're setting yourself up for failure, not success. Leadership plans are crucial. If you don't have a leadership plan this year, you are making a big mistake. So that is mistake number 3. So what is a leadership plan? Because this is probably the very first time that you are hearing about a leadership plan. So a leadership plan is a document. It is a written down document where you are laying out, one, what your goals are as a leader this year. What are your goals? Then you're going to lay out how you plan on achieving those goals. So the tactics that you're going to put into place to ensure that you're going to reach the outcomes. Your goals are your outcomes. That you're going to lay out the tactics, the to-dos to reach your outcomes, right? Now, your leadership plan can be extensive or it can be simple, right? You can have a 12-week leadership plan. You can have a year-long leadership plan, but you have to be able to make necessary adjustments to your plan throughout the time that you are working that plan. And so your leadership plan needs to lay out how you see yourself, how those around you see you, and how you desire for them to see you, right? You need to have this vision of where you are and where you want to be at the end of whatever time period that is, right? It talks about the investments that you're going to make in yourself. It talks about the investment you're going to make in the people that you are leading. It talks about changes you're making from previous plans that you have implemented. And if you're like, I have never mapped out a leadership plan, then you don't have any changes that you're going to make from a previous plan, but just changes you're going to make from the way you have led in the past, because you've seen results from the past. And so you're going to make some shifts and some changes in your leadership. And you're going to write that down on the plan. And throughout your length of time, so if it's 12 weeks, if it's 6 weeks, if it's the year that you're planning for, and I recommend planning for shorter time frames. And the reason you want to plan for shorter time frames is because you're going to be making adjustments to this plan, because you're going to notice things about yourself. You're going to see things, tactics that have been working or not working So you're going to want to make adjustments to the plan, but you're not going to make adjustments every day. You need to have that plan, see how it works for a specific amount of time, and then make adjustments in the next period if those adjustments don't need to be made immediately. Like if they are not a priority to adjust or to change in order for you to hit those objectives. Okay. Number 2 on my list is not taking advantage of teaching and coaching opportunities because you're too busy and because you're too busy with the urgent, right? So number 3 on the list was not having a leadership plan. And in your leadership plan, you map out your teaching and coaching opportunities. And these teaching and coaching opportunities are for the people that you're leading. These teaching and coaching opportunities are for you to cultivate that garden, for you to make sure that you're properly valuing the people that you are responsible for overseeing, right? And so if you don't have a leadership plan, you definitely have not mapped out the teaching and coaching that you're going to do with your team. You have not reviewed past performance reviews to say whether or not, not to say whether or not, you have not reviewed past performance reviews to say what you need to do this year to achieve the outcomes that you're responsible for, right? Because you're responsible for a set of outcomes, but it's all about the input. So if you don't have teaching and coaching inputs that are going to move the person you're leading, that's going to help to grow them and to groom them into this great person that they're supposed to be, that you're helping to cultivate, then it's useless. So don't let a lack of having a leadership plan derail you in 2025. Don't let you not taking advantage of these teaching and coaching opportunities derail your 2025 and cut the legs from under you, because your confidence is going to come from you clearly knowing the direction that you are going in. And many times we're not confident as leaders because we have not planned out our leadership. You get confidence from understanding that you have practiced a thing and that you are continuing to put that thing into practice in order to see a result, understanding that the little tweaks that are necessary along the way are what is going to get you to the end result or the outcomes that you desire. And number one on the list is not investing in yourself outside of company leadership training. I remember when I first started my leadership journey, I did not invest in myself as a leader outside of the training that I was given within my organization. And that was a big red flag, right? Like I should have known I needed to invest in myself outside of the company, because one, I had invested in my education as when I went to school, right? So because I wanted another job, I went and I got an MBA. I did certain things educationally to position myself as a fit for positions, as a candidate who stood out head and shoulders above the rest. And so if I wanted to credential myself in that way, I should have known that I needed to invest continually in myself in order to cultivate and develop myself as a leader, right? But I did not know that. I was not aware that it was my responsibility to invest in me in order to make me a better leader, because I thought getting my MBA, that program helped me to be a better leader. But the truth of the matter is my MBA program did not help me to be a better leader. It gave me book knowledge and theory and examples of, poor leadership and things like that. But it did not necessarily teach me what leading was and how I could show up as a leader. And I remember investing in a communications course. I went to a live training where I live, and I was working on my communication. And that was the very first course I had invested in, or class, in person training that I had invested in of my own money to say, you know what, because I am a leader, I need to up level my skill set in this area in order for me to produce the outcomes that I am responsible for. And so when I invested in that, it changed the way I thought about leading. The very first time I invested, it changed the way I thought about leading. And it challenged me to invest in myself as a leader in other areas outside of what the company was investing, so that I could produce better results, so that I could become a better version of myself, so that I could command or draw out of my team better versions of their selves. Because when you invest in yourself as a leader, what you begin to do is you see the blind spots that you have. You see the areas of improvement. You begin to see the imperfections, and you don't look down on yourself because of those imperfections. But what it does is it positions you to say, if I have these areas of imperfections that I'm taking the time to make adjustments to, if I help the people who are on my team readily identify their imperfections, they can make adjustments to themselves, but I can be a catalyst to help them to do that. As a leader, you are a catalyst. You are helping to start a fire in order to create something beautiful. Because sometimes some stuff has to be burned up in your area of responsibility in order to get the best result. Now, there are some times where fire is beneficial. Yes, fire can be destructive, but the kind of fire that you are going to start is actually going to help to nourish the environment and area that you are responsible for. See, when there are intentional fires set in certain areas, what it does is it helps to grow back what is it called? The greenery. It helps to grow the greenery back healthier and stronger because it has experienced a fire. So there's some areas where they'll intentionally go out, they'll start a fire, a small one that can be contained. That fire burns up all of the dry wood, and when it comes back, it's much more beautiful than it was before the fire was started. And so as a leader, when you invest in you, it creates this requirement of investment. And you're like, okay, I'm investing in me. Your team may not know that you're investing in yourself outside of the organization, but you can begin to talk about the investments that you're making to up level your skills, the investments that you are making in order to show up as a better leader for them. Because one, you value yourself, but when you become a better leader, you're able to value them at a whole new level. And so it's like a cycle. When you're investing in you, you can now produce better results. You can be promoted. Because you produce the outcomes that got you that result. But it was based on the input, right? It was based on you making a deposit in you to get a result. So make 2025 about the deposits that you are making, about the inputs that you are making, the inputs you are making with your team, the inputs that you are making with yourself, and you will boost your confidence as a leader, and it will breed clarity that you have not had on your leadership journey. Take time to write out your leadership plan. If you want a clearer picture on what the leadership plan entails, comment below and I will do a video on the leadership plan and what that looks like and how you should be crafting yours, and what is the best length of time to have the leadership plan and how you want to tweak that along the way. So comment below, let me know, and I'll do a video on that. Listen, until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.